right, welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Spit and Chatting. This is my boy Lane. I'm Zane. You ready to get into this today?
Man, let's go, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, we got another great topic. This one is about his love languages.
Mm,
And is it a fact or is it a myth? There's a good book out there that a lot of people may have read. A lot of information about it is called the love languages or five love languages. And we're kind of here to just kind of chat through some of that information and just get an understanding from kind of his perspective, his being us as
mm.
men. What you think about this topic, Lane?
Man, with all that's going on today, and I know we talked about this before when we talked about roles in a house or roles in a relationship. It's important to
Hmm.
understand who your man is and how he thinks, what he needs from you. What is that? What does that look like physically or emotionally from you to give to him, so he knows he's supported and most of all respected. But from our part, it is vital.
Yeah, yeah, it is vital, man. And I think it's a crazy topic because a lot of men just don't talk about this.
Right.
May not even really know how to. Um, but if I was just to ask you, kind of off the bat, like, what do you believe is like your top quote unquote love language? Like, what does that even mean?
Well, when you say that, the first word comes to mind is respect.
Mm,
Um, that's my number one love language. Like, you can't say you love me, you admire me, you feel close to me, whatever, whoever
right.
you are, if you can't respect me, if you can't be respectful. And I know there's times where differences have to be resolved or discussions need to be had in order to resolve something. But
Hmm.
sometimes that's why they say, take a breath, take a minute, step away for a sec, you know to think about how you want to say, or what you how you want to say it. Cooler heads prevail. We've all heard that. Man, that's a tool a lot of people don't use, but it's needed in relationships, because you'd be surprised how different your tone or your reaction would be if you take a step back, a couple of minutes, kind of cool down, think about things before you want to engage in some kind of conflict. And arguments are going to happen. Um, we have our good days and bad days, both men and women, but my number one thing is respect. Can't have that, man. And then it's just we're just bodies there. And just going through the motions.
Man, that's deep that you say that, because that's huge. For
Mm-hmm.
for all men, most men, I'm sure 99.9% would say that respect is number one and it's
Yeah.
huge, right?
Yep.
According to this book, that's out there. A lot of people like use this during counseling sessions and
Mm-hmm.
for spiritual type conversations. But it says the common love languages for men are physical touch,
Mm.
acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, and receiving gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, women have their own,
Right. Right.
particular
Right.
things,
Right.
and a lot of them like to receive gifts, you know. But what you mentioned, as far as respect, falls under this category, words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And how important do you feel? Because it basically says some men feel most loved when they receive verbal appreciation, respect, and expressions of confidence from their partner. So, how important would you say that is, even over sex? Let's just keep it a buck. Like, how important is respect, words of affirmation, even over physical touch?
Man, I wouldn't have agreed with this. younger, if in my younger years. But
Yeah.
as you grow, you evolve, you learn more, and as a man, you learn more about yourself even more as you get older. You really, you think you know it all and you have it all under control when you're young, but man, now the stuff I learn now about myself, who I am, and what
Yeah.
I need more from my significant other is vital. Uh, that stuff is more important than sex because as you get older, as a man, um, you start thinking before you're reacting. You start thinking about what you can do, the consequences of stuff before you're needing physical touch or intimacy. And
Yeah.
man, if you don't have those things, somebody that can build you up or somebody that can support you, that embraces you, that gives you confidence, helps your confidence, and uplifts you, then she's the sex doesn't matter. You know,
Mm.
as a man now, I don't even want it if I'm not in touch with you. You know, if we're like two separate
Mm-hmm.
people, oil and water, the sex is it doesn't even matter. It's meaningless. But if you have that, it makes those times of intimacy even better. But
Mm-hmm.
this is a thing that kind of comes with age. But if you young men, if we start learning this now, this will be better for our relationships now and in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thanks for answering that question and just, helping all of us in that
Yeah.
area because it's so true when when you're younger, you kind of slinging and thanging, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not really thinking about like what your true needs are, like,
Hmm.
deep down in your core, of who you are, like what do I really need and how do I express that to my significant other? And so, if we're just living kind of on the baseline of like the
Hmm.
physical needs, we all learn as we get older, like that kind of wears out. Not that we
Yeah.
don't need it, like, at the end of the day, that's probably number two still. We still, as men, like that's important to us. It's like food, if I'm just being honest
Hmm.
with you. It's still a basic need, but respect and the
Man.
verbal communication to your man is number one
Right.
because
Right.
the beauty and all that stuff, that's one aspect of it. But if the communication of like verbal respect and how you respect your man is not there, then you ugly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the
Yeah.
day, all that beauty kind of becomes, it gets blinded. You know what I mean? So
Man, that
thank you
is.
for kind of touching on that.
I was thinking that in the back of my head because how we were, like you just said, we were, call it whatever you want. You stick and move, and you're not really in touch with who you are as a man. Some guys think they are, but as you get older, like you said, you realize respect is vital. How you treat me, how you talk to me is vital. And
Hmm.
some women, sometimes can think that, oh, if he ain't having sex with me, he just got something going on the side, or, he doing something. I need to check his phone. Nah, he just don't want to deal with you because how you treat him right now.
Mm,
You
don't
know,
want to deal with you.
yeah, stop thinking about what he's doing outside and really kind of point the finger at yourself. What am I doing to cause him to be this withdrawn from me? Because there's a reason why. Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe it's something he just got to get off his chest. Maybe it's something that he needs to express to you. And, it may not have nothing to do with you, but we hold a lot of stuff in. And as you get older, you
Hmm.
start realizing more important, your emotional needs as a man. And I said that we have emotional needs and
Yeah.
stuff like that before sex. And once you have all that, like I said, man, that makes those moments, those connection moments even better when you have everything to go along with it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a really simple, like, solution, you know what I mean,
Right.
to a lot of problems, but it just seems like it's so complicated. You know what I'm
Man.
saying? In today's society, you got women that are just overly sexualized and
Hmm.
promiscuous, and a lot of that men have to take responsibility for on how
Yeah.
we've approached and how we've disrespected our women in the past and how we've treated them like meat instead of
Yeah.
like true queens that they
Yeah.
are. So we do have to take responsibility for that and start chipping away at like how do we change this? How do we
Yeah.
change this narrative? And that's why I wanted to, that was one of the reasons why I think this is a great topic for us to really discuss, because most men don't really, we're not great at like communicating our
Yeah.
feelings to our women, and it's reasons because of that. Sometimes we feel shut down. Sometimes we just don't even know how to. You know, but what do you think our women can do to open up that channel of communication to where maybe we don't feel like we're walking on eggshells? Am I gonna hurt her feelings if I say the wrong thing? How do I say I need respect without coming across like demanding? Like how can a woman, just from, in a perfect world
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, if we could have it our way, like what would you want that interaction to be like?
Man, that's a good question, bro. Well, let me say this. Let me answer it this way: is that if I'm a man and I want to, this woman doesn't really know how to treat me, but I'm trying to say, hey, I need respect from you. I'm being open to say, hey, I need
Mm-hmm.
respect. I have not yet broken down what that looks like, but hey, I need this from you. Um,
Right.
Obviously, if you've got to that point as a man, you're already broken. And
Mm, good point.
there's nothing more terrible to look at than a broken man. Um, Man, it
Mm,
is it's very sad to look at. You could see it sometimes in the eyes. Men, we know this with each other.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Sometimes you see a man who's homeless, who's broken, a man who doesn't have a job, doesn't have a car, doesn't have a lady, or stuff like that, and is
Mm-hmm.
broken. And sometimes you see guys in those particular areas in life, they're homeless, they don't have this and that, but they still have confidence. They're not broken yet. They're just going through certain trials and tribulation. But when you're broken
Mm,
as a man from life, from your woman, man, it is a terrible thing to witness. How we gotta communicate more to women. Sometimes they have to be open to receive it, to receive that constructive criticism, and we
yeah.
need that from them. They need that from us on how they can do better. And what do I need to do as a man to make you feel like my woman? Maybe it's something I'm doing. But
Yeah.
have that open communication. And sometimes, man, it may take somebody in between you to help you guys out, to say, hey, yeah, treat him like this, treat her like this, say this to him, say this to her. If there's a dilemma, take a time out, then come back and meet. Um, but let me ask you this: where does this come from? Where a guy is walking around in his house on eggshells? How does somebody get in a relationship, and I'll just put it out there, not know how to treat
Mm,
a man?
mm.
I'll say that again. How do you get in a relationship and not knowing how to treat a man?
Man, I think that's the question of the century,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, right.
How do you get into the relationship and not know how to treat a man?
Right.
And it's hard for the man to answer that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think like you said, there's brokenness obviously from the man's side, not being able to recognize those things early on,
Mm-hmm.
right? From the women's side, there's got to be brokenness as well, that
Yep.
they're
Yep.
not be able to recognize it. And so when you got two broke people trying to come together, and we're not always talking about financially, right?
Nah.
Because there's a lot of functioning addicts at different things. You know what I mean? We ain't just talking about drugs, but functioning high in careers and things like that, and still just
Mm-hmm.
broken inside and don't know
Right.
how to communicate, don't know how to love, don't
Right.
know how to respect. And I think that's just that's just something both parties really have to spend time on, like their own brokenness,
Yeah.
because when you come together, it's just magnified even more. At least that's what I'm learning. You know what I mean? My wife and I got married
Hmm.
young, 22 years old, and you know it was love, but at the same
Right.
time, there's a lot of things we just didn't know how to deal with in our early years because
Yeah.
we're bringing all kind of just garbage into the
Yeah.
marriage, right? that that we didn't really know how to address until it came up. And I think because we didn't understand, and this is still, I mean, this is 27 years in, like we still trying to learn each other's love
Right.
language to where we can execute things in a way that she feels loved, in a way that I feel loved on her end. So I think it's just one of those things that takes like intentionality,
Hmm.
on both sides. But from your initial question, getting into the relationship, I just think most, and it's just for both sides, don't really recognize the brokenness.
Mm.
And so you're kind of going into it on the base level of like, oh, she looks good, or he may be
Yeah.
handsome, whatever. And so we're functioning off like the base level of like the physical needs,
Hmm.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And not really putting like the other stuff priority, like who is this fool that I'm,
Right.
you know what I mean, getting to
Right.
know. And I'm just being funny, calling each other fool, but like really who is this person? Like, is this
Yeah.
somebody that gets me, and again, we've talked about this in the past, like there's kind of reasoning for pausing and just taking a minute to just get to know each other. That's why we talked about dating and courting,
Hmm. Yeah.
even last week, because there's a true art and process and it takes time, while you're going through that process.
Yeah. Man, having that connection early and you being connected with that person emotionally, spiritually, man, it's more important than sex. And I'm a man, you're a man. We know how important that is to us. But as you get older, you
Yeah.
realize being connected with that person emotionally, spiritually, man, where you notice it and everybody else sees it. Sometimes you see
Yeah.
couples that, how they react in public, or you may overhear something. Like you could tell they're not connected somehow. They look awkward with each other. And it's like, wow, you could tell that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we all have those moments where we're kind of out and, things aren't really, you know, right with you and your significant other. And other people could tell with you guys. You go somewhere, you ain't really holding a hand, or you're kind of upset, you're walking a couple of steps ahead. Those are all factors that
Yeah.
play into that. Because when you're
Yeah.
connected with somebody, man, like I don't even got to look. I know you're there with me. I don't
Yeah.
even gotta ask you for your opinion, maybe, because I already know what you're gonna say. You're gonna be in line with how I feel, and you're gonna
Right.
demand and make sure people respect me. And we bring this up all the time because sometimes I don't think women understand how important that word is to us. Like
Mm.
you can get a whole lot more with it. What's the saying they use? You get more bees with honey or something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get that from us. That's how you get the little gifts that he comes home with, or how you get the flowers, or a special gift, or paying for your bills or whatever. Respect. How some
Mm-hmm.
women get that? They cater to that man respectfully. It starts with there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some women wonder, realize, man, how is she getting? Well, she knew how to respect that guy. She knew how to treat a man, and it is
Yeah.
easier said than done. And men, we have to learn that too. We a lot of times we have to throw away that stuff we get from the street. It's not go well
Mm-hmm.
with relationships. It doesn't work. And we
Yeah.
really have to
Yeah.
learn really from, sometimes you got to learn from your father figure, you got to learn from your mom, and life, how to really treat a woman. But that stuff we learn from our childhood and from the street, man, cut that out. Especially now that
Yeah.
we have
Just like,
daughters, we're like, yeah, that's throw that out, throw
yeah.
those ideas out. Like we've talked about with courting and dating, that stuff is important for young men to learn, and even some older men who haven't really understood it, but it's important for them to learn how to treat a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, those are all great points. And I think we've said this or might have mentioned this in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
relationship work ain't 50-50. Like it's a
Nah.
100% on both parts. You kind of hear all these different excuses on why a person doesn't cater to
Right.
their significant other because, oh, he does this or she does that. And when we do that, we're just kind of continuing to divide. And I've been guilty of that. Like, man, I ain't about to be spending extra money or
Mm-hmm.
trying to be nice. And when I just continue to get treated like that, like there was a
Yeah.
period in our relationship where it was just toxic.
Yeah.
And I learned that trying to enforce respect or command respect just doesn't work. Like it's
Yeah.
just if we
Yeah.
if we could just put that out there to all the
Man,
fellas,
that's a good point,
you
bro.
basic you basically just trying to command respect is never going to work. And
No.
we see that in our children. Like our
Yeah.
children, they respect based on learning. They respect based on what they see. You can tell them all you want, right? And you can punish them, right? But it ain't this. You can't do that in your relationships. At the end of the day, when they feel loved, the respect begins to naturally evolve. Now,
Right.
from what I've seen and what I've experienced and what I've learned in my relationship is that I can express my needs, right? But there's still some things my wife may have to work on her own
Mm.
to be able to digest what that really means, for me.
Right.
Um, and so that's effort on both parts. It takes
Right.
a hundred
Yeah.
percent. I have to be able to communicate it in a way that's not like overbearing, you know what I
Right.
mean, and
Right.
demanding. And she has to want to in her own role. Like this is what we both do, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, and that's an important piece to put out there,
Yeah.
because we know respect is earned, but at the same time there are certain things that we do um, out of the nature of our roles that
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't require her to act a certain way for me to express love or do the nice things that I know that I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't require me to act just a certain way for her to respect me. Those are things that in a marriage they should be given because this
Mm.
is who you chose to be in that relation and covenant with.
Right. Yeah. Man, let me ask you a question. Speak on respect, because I think of respect, and then the
Mm-hmm.
opposite is obviously disrespect, but I would call that emasculation. When
Mm.
you're not
Yep.
respecting him, you're emasculating him. You're stripping him down
Mm-hmm.
from being a man and turning him into a human peon, your own little peon. You might
Yep.
as well have a little choke chain, a little leash around him. And I say that, I know
Yep.
it sounds
Yep.
funny, but that's how, when you disrespect a man, that's the vision he sees. You got like a chain
Yep.
around him. He's just a little puppy. You've emasculated him. What
Mm-hmm.
does that look like on both sides? What does respect look like? What does somebody being emasculated look like?
Man, well, the emasculation part, I mean, that's just a horrible spot
Right.
for a man to be in because he wasn't created for that. You know what
Mm.
I mean? If we take it back into history, emasculated mean you got your
Right.
what cut off.
Yeah.
And so you it's like what is your purpose? Not that sex is your purpose, but that's a part of who you are. Like that's a natural, like God-given organ that you've been created to be a father, a husband. Like the role of a man
Right.
is embedded in that. So when that's taken away, like in, I guess, the sense of what's done mentally to a man. I mean, that takes away confidence. You
Yeah.
know, it takes away leadership, right? Because how can you effectively lead if you don't see yourself as a man?
Right. Yeah,
How can
man.
you effectively be who you're supposed to be if you're battling within on just your own confidence as a man? And
Right.
so
Right.
from a masculation standpoint, it's devastating. It's almost like, unalived for a man's perspective.
Mm.
From the other side of it, I guess from the respect issue or not providing that respect, like you're participating in demoralizing that individual. You know what I mean? And that is a that's something that I think most people should really take in. Am I either kind of like, goes along with things we talked about in the past, like,
Mm-hmm.
words can either destroy or build up, right? There's
Right.
life and power in the tongue, right? So if you're emasculating a man mentally, right, and just beating him down, belittling him, then you're aiding in destroying that man. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
that continues to happen over time, right, then you're destroying a whole generation of men. So where do the leaders go? Where does your
Yeah.
protection go? Where does like the husbands go?
Right.
It's just a cycle, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's why we're kind of speaking up on that. So good
Yeah.
question though.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
He's just a shell. No, that was good, and it's like some women I think get off on being that. When you
Mm,
claim you're some, you know, stronger than normal woman over your man, you've just emasculated him. When
yeah.
and little things count. If you see a group of guys, your significant other talking to another group of guys, and you somehow want to make yourself the focal point of the conversation. Yeah, you may think, yeah, the conversation's carrying on, but his friends, his buddies, like, man, what's up with his girl? Like, there's things,
Mm,
and certain women do not know this. They haven't learned this from their mothers, whoever. I'm just being
right.
honest and real of how to treat it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes help. It takes help for all of us to learn how to connect with that other person from the opposite sex, understanding
Yeah.
their culture. Okay, maybe you're both from different cultures. You got to understand his culture. You got to understand her culture. But emasculating somebody, a lot of times people do it and don't even recognize they're doing it. And they do it in front
Yeah.
of other people, which is the worst thing you can possibly do because, like you were saying earlier, if a man feels disrespected by you, or if he has to command
Hmm.
respect, he may just get quiet, go into his shell, walk around the house, tiptoeing. But you gonna see him erupt. Let him feel disrespected from another man or from somebody else's family member because they saw you do it. Now they're gonna try him and
Yeah.
disrespect him. At that
Yeah.
point, that's probably going to turn into a life changing moment. You're going to learn a
Yeah.
lesson. That other person, your significant other, is going to learn a lesson, but the damage is done there, and it's most of the time it's unrepairable. Um, Man,
Yeah.
I got this little video I
Yep.
want to show you real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna need you ladies to be real honest right now without getting defensive. I'm about to list off 20 ways that women emasculate the men in their lives. I don't care if it's your husband, your boyfriend, your coworker, your dad, your grandpa. I want you to comment below how many of these you're guilty of. Now, the reason this is so important is because every time we do one of these things, it's like attacking them with a sword. And when they're getting attacked, especially over and over and over, they have no choice but to put up their shield and protect themselves instead of protecting us. Okay, so let's get started. Number one, criticizing his actions and decisions regularly.
Why would you do it that way? That doesn't even make sense.
Number two,
Mm,
dismissing his feelings or telling him to man up. Number three, comparing him to other men. Number
Mm,
four, undermining his efforts.
You never do anything right.
Number five, interrupting him or talking over him.
mm,
Number six, making jokes at his expense.
big.
Well, we all know he's not the smartest.
Number seven,
Whew.
taking control over every situation.
I'll just do it myself. Never do it right.
8,
Mm.
rejecting or downplaying his ideas.
That's dumb. Why would you ever think that would work?
9, invalidating his role as a provider or protector.
I don't need you. I have everything on my own.
Number 10, always needing to be right.
Man, I caught that video and, I was just like, man, this is a younger woman, obviously, who's picked up some things and learned some things. But
Mm-hmm.
good advice is just hopeful that some women who are older can listen to her and kind of swallow their pride and say, hey, she's learned that. Let me listen to that. What is she saying? Do I do those sort of things? But I think also, like, when you're in a relationship, you want to understand respect, disrespect, how not to emasculate, if you're willing to listen, all that stuff. Sometimes, if you have sort of like this narcissistic mindset, or like she said, nobody could tell you none, you're always right, man, you may dismiss everything everybody tells you. Nobody could
Right.
tell you the right thing. It's on you. You got it. You don't need his help.
Yep.
But there's going to come a time when you're going to need a man. And,
Yep.
who knows who may break in the house or walk up behind you down the street. And that broken man, you broken him so bad, he can't defend nothing. He's broken. He's broken and he needs to be repaired. But when you're going to need a man, you're going to wish you had one. Hopefully
Mm.
that time doesn't actually happen, but a lot of times it does. But that man is broken, and sometimes, we know with like mental health, he can't recover from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And a man just, needs to be able to express his, his needs
Mm.
without
Mm.
judgment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that video was very striking. It was very good, well put together, and just very simple. Like, she just rattled those things off, pretty quickly in that short
Yeah.
video. But from a man's standpoint, like, the responses when you emasculate him, there's really only two. Like, he's going to maybe be on eggshells
Mm.
and doesn't want to cause a scene in that moment, right? But over time, he's going to have a breaking point,
Yeah. Man.
and there will be a volcano that erupts. Now some cats, they just going to erupt in that moment all the time. Like, if they just feel disrespected and just don't have any filter, don't have any way to other to communicate, but just blowing up. There's a lot of individuals out there as well. We know those relationships just don't last because they go into a whole different realm of
Yeah.
violence and
Yeah.
stuff that we of course we don't condone, but that's just the reality of it. It's just, you know, we're not the best communicators as men because those are just things we have to learn, right? We have to learn. But when he takes the time to say something,
Mm.
he means it. You know
Should
what I
listen.
mean? Like, we don't
Yeah.
we don't even we don't sit around like chatty patty and just, like, when we say something, like, we actually have like true meaning behind it. We joke a lot as friends amongst, our friends and dudes and stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, we're trying to take a moment to express something to our significant other, our woman,
Mm-hmm.
like, just take time to listen, because it took a lot for him to bring that up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess is just what I want to put out there.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just haphazardly that he took that
No.
moment and wanted to address that,
No.
because he knows how much that is starting to affect him.
Yeah. Man, that's important what you just said. And it's like sometimes, guys, we come across those moments where it's like, hey, I gotta let her know this so that me and her are on the same page. And women, if you ever come across a guy expressing something to you like that, man, it is so vital to, because you finally get him to open up. You're finally getting him to
Right.
express himself, and he does it. Man, if you can't take that in and whatever he says, hey, yeah, you got it. I'll do that. Man, if you disregard his feeling, you may never get another chance, because he may just like, you know what, she
True.
shut me down. I'm done. And
That's
when a
true.
man does that, man, you take that in, he'll do it more with you as long as you provide that ability where he can say what he wants to say to you without judgment and you understand and receive his feelings. He'll be open with you all the time. He'll come home, tell you about his day at work, who he ran into, who he talked on the phone, what his time was like at the gym, what he's
Yep.
thinking, what he's feeling, what he's hurting. He'll tell you everything if you allow him and to express his feelings to you and not be judgmental. Because sometimes people could be judgmental and say, "Oh, you're not a real man if you feel like that." No, don't say that. That's the problem with society that they've done with men, and that's why we have the mental health issues we have today. Is because people have said that to us: "Be a man, suck it up, boys don't cry," all that. It has not helped
Yeah.
our generation of men, especially when you look at the suicide statistics and the mental health reports. We're top of the list. And a lot of that is because
Yep.
people don't understand our feelings and they don't validate them.
Yeah. Man, whew, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's really deep. I I just have to express this. I think this is just a little something that I just need to put out there is that if you, and this is just to our women, if you are closing the door for him to communicate like openly, transparently,
Mm,
he's not yelling, he's taking the time to actually like talk through his feelings, even if he's not saying all the right things or the right way.
right.
He may have some facial
Yeah.
expressions to it, whatever. He's not yelling, he's not irate. He's just taking a moment to express his needs. If you close that door on him, just know there are other doors that you are opening for him.
Mm,
Now this is not like talking to the fellas now. This is not your right to like walk through another door.
right.
But what I'm saying is, like, when you close that door to him to just communicate without
Mm,
judging him, without like trying to like take over the conversation or belittle him, that door is going to open where someone at the job might just be
yeah.
asking, "How's your day going?
Yeah.
You're not looking like you're doing too well," or
Yeah.
and he's just out and about. Like someone else just may compliment him. These are like
Mm,
doors that if he's not like strong enough mentally to, kind of block that out, like we've talked about before, like women are a kryptonite. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And I feel like it's the responsibility for men to protect their women, right? That's physically and emotionally. And it's the same for the women. Like if you just throwing him out there and he's feeling emasculated and rejected, not heard, you're not giving him
Yeah.
words of life and words of affirmation, all he feels is beat down, then just know that that door is open on the other side. Now if he walks through it, then there's all kind of complications that comes through that. We know that. But just here, this is why those doors get open
Mm,
a lot of times is because he feels that he can't even talk to you.
yeah. Man, we
So
might just have to end it
I
on
know,
that note and let that sink in and
hey,
just take that in and just
hey,
like let that marinate on some heads right now.
yeah, yeah. And, I know this is a kind of a deep conversation for a lot, and a
Mm,
lot of times we don't talk about this. Um, I do feel like I have to do this lane just kind of as a faith-based person.
mm, yeah.
Um, but there's a definition for love. I'm just going to read it. It says, "Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up.
Mm,
Does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in sin, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things." And it says love never fails.
mm,
So this is a definition you can hang on to, believe it or not. That's up to
yeah.
you. But at the end of the day, we have to seek what real love is, and we need to ask,
Yeah.
what makes you feel loved? How can I meet that need more often in our
Yeah.
relationships?
Man, maybe that's a question everybody listening to this show should go ask their significant other.
Yep.
That's a good, like, you know, thing everybody should do. Because if you and him are
Yep.
not on the same page, you're wondering why, maybe just ask him or her that question and see what you
Yep.
get and see if you can learn from that and grow from that.
That's right. That's right. So again, thanks for tuning in to another
Yep.
episode. Please continue to drop your comments and like, share the video. Help us out in that way. We enjoy, just spitting and chatting together, and being able to help our men and our women. So thanks again for listening.
See you guys next week.
See you next week. Over and out.